Hey, it's Monday, May 10th, 2010. Joe, welcome to Coffee with Joe.
Maybe.
Lot been going on over the weekend. The lot went on last week. We had the almost 1,000 point drop on the stock exchange on Thursday, and uh, apparently a cat crossed somebody's computer keyboard and caused that crash. Things are very unstable out there. There was concern about the euro. There's been concern about the euro over the past several weeks. It's been losing ground to the dollar, and that's related to the Greek debt crisis. But there's been a huge bailout of the euro over the weekend as well. A huge international agreement involving the IMF and the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, and also our very own Federal Reserve has offered a line of credit essentially up to close to $1 trillion. Joe, is that your understanding?
Yeah, that is my understanding. I have to say that there's not really, Pete, a great deal of information available, today. Just pretty much the announcement from the Fed that they're, reopening these quote swap agreements with the central banks of the European Central Bank and the other central banks in Europe. I think the main thing, quite frankly, this is all a confidence game, Pete. And almost every time you see one of these announcements come out, there's the mechanics of it, there's what it does it really accomplish, there's how does it really work. But when you see these announcements, pretty much you see them as something that's meant to restore the confidence of somebody in the markets, usually to the people, to keep the people from panicking, further.
Well,
So
and indeed, Joe, the stock market this morning. I mean, we're making this video at 10:20 in the morning, and I just noticed that the Dow is up 400 points
yeah,
already
right.
this morning. Okay.
Right, exactly. What does it really reflect? Pete, when I look at this, it's just another cog, coming forward that's going into place, starting with the financial crash. When it happened, and it happened so broadly and globally, and we took a lot of steps. Again, confidence building steps, Pete. Confidence building steps. Even when you saw the finance ministers get together at the G20, they all kept saying, "We're doing something. We're doing something." What are they doing? Kicking the can down the road, Pete. Trying to get confidence out of the fact that they're doing something. Nobody dealing with the cause of the problem. If anybody has come out yet with the cause of the financial crisis, in a definitive way, I don't know where it is, and I've been looking. So we take actions, they restore confidence, we kick the can down the road, we wait for the next crisis to evolve, and it evolves now just with the manifestation of Greece, yes, and because, the European central banks are holding, and bankers are holding the Greek debt. It's the Greek manifestation, but that's just another thing. And so now we come in. Now we come in with, well, we need to restore some confidence because of the threat to the euro. It's really, to me, I think, again, another picture of how we don't understand, the machinations of that system, of the entire global monetary economy and the monetary systems of the world. We're not dealing with it in terms of as if it was a monetary system problem. We're dealing with it as if it was a liquidity problem. It's not a liquidity problem. We cannot have the debt money system, the requirements of the debt money system, and all those debt service payments, and at the same time have prosperity. So it's one or the other. And right now, prosperity is getting the boot in the ass, and we're trying to maintain as if, the currencies are the most important thing, the banks are the most important thing, the financial services industries are the most important thing, and we'll deal with employment later, and we'll deal with all that suffering later. And that just keeps getting kicked down the road. So this is just another confidence building, scheme, Pete. It raises a lot of questions. But the real question is, where does the Fed get the money to put into that account? That's $1 trillion. Where does the Fed get the money? And the fact of the matter is, the Fed doesn't have the money, A, and B, the money doesn't exist, Pete. So The Fed's using its power to create money, in this case, ostensibly supporting the global economy because of the fact that, we're the reserve currency out there and still in the global economy. But it just raises all the questions about what's going on with the Fed, how does the money system work, who owns what, who's responsible for what, who's liable for what, Pete, when all of this stuff goes down. If this is not enough money to have the European Union work out its how its monetary system is going to work, then what? That's really the issue. You see, then what? Then what? More kicking the can down the road. More kicking the can down the road. We need substantive structural monetary reform, and we need to do away with the debt money system in order to do it, and to restore monetary sovereignty to every country in the world, and to have every country in the world issuing its currency without debts. And if they do that, we'll be well on the way to prosperity again.
If we don't do that, Joe, people talk about the debt money system ending in a collapse. How would that work? Where would it start to fracture?
Well, Pete, the brittleness of the system is such that it really could be anywhere. It really could be anywhere. If the European Union would have taken any steps, like, for instance, what Warren Mosler, proposed, well, let's change one of our tick rules and let's put $1 trillion in currency out into without creating any debt, that would solve that part of the problem. Solve just that part of the problem. But it doesn't solve the problem of what's happening in England then, okay? What does England do about it? Everybody just continues to quantitative ease. And then we have a global Japan, Pete, okay? We've got a global Japan, but no ability really to correct anything or to restart anything or to make any, substantive progress against, the whole financial, I don't know, imbroglio that I see it as just a huge, huge, huge problem. So kicking the can down the road is basically what we do. And
well, I guess my question is, Joe, how long can we keep doing that? And how do we know that we've reached the point where if we can't keep doing it forever, seems like we can just keep doing it forever, Joe?
No, not really. We can't really keep doing it forever, because at some point the people are going to realize it. What's actually going on. The real people are going to realize what's actually going on, and they're going to refuse, to allow either their governments to continue issuing more debt, because somebody's going to say, well, where's that debt? How's that debt ever going to get paid back? Who owes what to who? And it'll come crashing down. Which is why I say, Pete, the most important question out there is who's working on the exit strategy from the debt money system. That's the question. Until we have people working on the exit strategy from the debt money system, we can't have any alternative, in place to replace it. I know they are. I know they are in Great Britain right now, Pete. I know that they're about to surface a proposal for the Bank of England to create its own currency, debt-free. So we know that people are working on it, but none of this stuff looks like anybody in power really is doing anything about it.
Well, Joe, you're still not telling me how it comes crashing down when it comes crashing down. Is it too much money creation and a hyperinflation so that no currency around the world works anymore? I mean, it's going to have to seriously dysfunction for people to study the system enough to learn that there might be an alternative to it, Joe.
No, it will definitely, the debt money system, Pete, will definitely come down with debt deflation. Not with inflation, not with hyperinflation. It's almost impossible. In fact, it's virtually impossible for it to come down via inflation, because there's all the debt that's out there and all the debt service payments that are out there. And when you think about how the debt money system works, with the contraction of the money supply, that's the spiral that takes all the money away, and that will be deflationary. Now, how they react to that, will determine what comes next, but it will be caused by deflation, not by inflation. It will be a debt deflation spiral.
So isn't this new trillion that the Fed's coming up with to help bail out Europe, isn't that working against the debt deflation
Sure it
cycle?
is. Sure it is. It's all meant to do that, Pete. All of this action is meant to do that. But what's it doing? If that money goes and it gets deposited in the European Central Bank and they lend it out to somebody in order to help them make their debt service payments, it just increases their debt. It increases their debts. You can't solve, you made the point a long time ago, Pete. You can't dig your way out of a hole with the shovel, You can't. All you're going to do is get yourself deeper. Uh, so no, they don't recognize the problem at all, Pete. They don't recognize the problem at all, and so we see these machinations. They're doing something. Let's do something, and that's what they're doing. They're doing something, but none of it is aimed at the debt money problem.